I built this SpaceX Rocket Simulator in 4 hours on a Sunday evening with the help of Codex. Thanks to OpenClaw and Peter Steinberger. Here's everything that happened. Every few months, I used to give AI coding a try and I used to get disappointed. Sometimes it didn't get the context right, sometimes it missed my instructions, sometimes it messed up, and actually, most of the times, it messed up my previous code. So I always felt like AI coding was not there. I mean, we use AI coding definitely. I don't like the term vibe coding. We definitely love AI assisted coding. AI can help with snippets of code, but if you want to build any kind of even small reasonable application, it used to fall apart pretty badly. Now, until recently, something different happened. We started seeing these announcements and these news and these articles and blogs and posts of people about OpenClaw, which was originally called ClawdBot, then Moltbot, and finally OpenClaw. And the founder, Peter Steinberger, is a great guy, is a very interesting personality. So he is someone who has sold his previous businesses for $100 million. Now he is doing these things for the fun of it, and he ended up building this thing, which is now called OpenClaw. People were going crazy over it and they were calling it the true agentic, they were calling it AGI. It was actually able to do tasks end to end, not just completion, not just summarization or some agentic workflow that no one knows what it actually means. It was actually able to just follow instructions and complete the tasks end to end. I read some posts about it. I was a little bit skeptical, like it requires permission of your system, full access, or you can run it on a separate container in a cloud machine. But if that machine does not have your data, then what kind of value will you get out of it? But I still was very, very intrigued with it. I tried spinning up a cloud server and setting up everything over there. I was doing that, but again, that server had no access to my system, my files, and everything. So I still just abandoned the idea and went on with my work. I read some posts on Twitter, some tweets, people saying that all of this was already possible with Cloud Code. This is nothing new. And I was surprised. Like, isn't Cloud Code for coding? Isn't it like just cursor? I felt like I was missing something. So I investigated a bit more. I read some blogs by Peter Steinberg. He has this amazing blog where he posts about his work. It's like his work log kind of thing. So I read that whole blog and it started blowing my mind away. And then later in the day, at Saturday night, I was just scrolling through my feed and this podcast with Lex Fridman came up, where Peter Steinberg was talking about ClawdBot. I watched the first video 15 minutes, then the next video 30 minutes, then another one 15 minutes, and I mean the guy is amazing. He's a fun guy. I mean he talks about these things like it's just a hobby, and right now he's blowing people's mind. So he started building these small apps with the help of AI, and it started working amazingly well for him. But again, he was a very, very good coder. He was an amazing programmer. That is why he was able to build so many small applications. He was building a lot of MCP servers, a lot of CLIs, and ultimately, all of those MCPs, all of those CLIs ultimately helped him build what you right now call OpenClaw. There was another part in the podcast where Lex Fridman asked him about the programming paradigm and what he thinks of it right now. He very specifically didn't mention vibe coding. He called it agentic programming framework, which makes more sense. These things are now thinking way more deeper than what previous code completions were doing. Previously, AI was very good at completing small tasks, like small features. You could ask it to write some feature and it could write that very, very decently. You could ask it to write some functions, some helper functions, some UI components, the landing pages. AI could do it beautifully. But understanding the features in depth, understanding the intent of it, and then building it, that is what's now possible with these agentic coding tools, which is like Codex, which is Cursor to some extent, which is Anti-Gravity by Google, and which is open code that I have yet to try. So next day is Sunday, and I was just scrolling through my feed, and I just could not resist the temptation of trying out Codex. Peter Steinberg spoke highly of it, and he loved Codex. So I was like, let's just give it a try. Let's just try Codex. I had this app idea in my mind that I wanted to build this SpaceX Rocket Simulator because they have a very cool like way of doing things, like the rocket flies up and then the state separation and then it flies back. So like I wanted to like build this kind of simulation in a low poly 2D version for quite some time, and I wanted to do it like coded by hand, maybe use some AI, but I just didn't get enough time ever. So I thought this would be a nice project to try out. This is not too complex, but very, very complex if you want to do it without AI. I mean, you have to understand 3JS and HTML canvas and do all of those maths and physics by yourself. So not as simple of a project. So I was like, let's just try it out. And I was just blown away. So I started by using voice commands within Codex. I gave it my whole brain dump. I wanted to build this SpaceX simulator, very clean, minimalistic, low poly web app. I want to see the stuff, all the space rockets lying on the bottom. It should be a low poly version of these rockets. Canvas. My idea was it should be built in Canvas and HTML, CSS, so I could split the different sections of the rockets dynamically. I don't want to just have different images of the rocket stacked on one another, because then it would be hard to split the rockets on state separation. So I had this idea in my mind that HTML, CSS, Canvas, this should work. So I entered, and again, I wasn't too sure about the tech stack. Maybe something else could work as well, but this was the original idea that I gave to Codex. It did some research. It found some articles it read about the SpaceX rockets, and I also told it to do some research on their state separation, on how the rocket mechanism works, so we could implement that kind of animation. So I did that research about the SpaceX rockets, and it went well. It worked for like 1 minute and 26 seconds, and then it came up with suggestions of the rockets it wanted to implement in the app. And something interesting, it gave me the suggestion that I was close in the tech stack, but we should implement it with 3JS. And I had not worked in 3JS before. I mean, doesn't matter because I was going to use Codex for it, but it suggested 3JS. 3JS Canvas, that was my suggestion, HTML, CSS, and then that's how it's going to work. So it gave me an execution plan. It will first create the layouts of the rockets, Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, Starship, and then implement the different stages of them. And it said the next step would be it can create a product spec. I was like, yeah, good, let's do that. So it created the product spec, included all the features, and then it said I could scaffold the actual code base using this spec, or I built only milestone one, which is seen just line up placeholders. That was a good start because previously what these AI tools used to do was they used to just start doing everything. You told them that you need to build this app and they started just doing everything at all, and then none of it worked. So it gave me like a first step that let's start step by step. Let's just create a layout and the lineup of the rockets. And I was like, yeah, let's do three. And it worked. It set up the project. Everything worked fine. And then it implemented the first milestone. And when the milestone was completed, and the layout of the rockets on the ground was complete, and they actually looked like rockets somewhat, not exactly like SpaceX rockets, but like pretty close. So I told Codex that the rockets don't look at all like SpaceX rockets. They look just like candles or pencils. So they do have to look like SpaceX rockets. So this was the suggestion. I was also trying to convey what was in my mind, which is very, very hard thing to do. So in my mind, I wanted the rockets to be small at the bottom of the screen, but like it implemented like big rockets on the screen somewhere. So my idea was minimalistic view, a dark theme, small rockets. So I was trying to convey that. And again, I was with every message that I was typing, I was just set up for disappointment. I was waiting that okay, at any message it will just fall apart. It won't follow my instructions, and it will never work. With every message, I was hoping that it will. I won't say hoping. I was expecting that it wouldn't work. But so I sent this message, and then it worked. It implemented my changes to the rockets, and rockets started looking more like Falcon, like Starship, like Falcon Heavy. I did not give any picture as the context. I was just telling it that the SpaceX rockets, and it got them right. And then it suggested the next milestone, which is like for Falcon 9 launch, it can start implementing the detachable stage nodes and first separation animation. This was pretty cool because it was not suggesting to implement the whole thing. It did not suggest that it can start implementing animations for all three rockets. It stayed focused on the Falcon 9. So this was another part where I was kind of impressed that it's going step by step, and that was easier for me to track as well, that we can let's perfect the first rocket, and if that works we can copy the same implementation to all other rockets. So I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do that. So at this point, I was getting some errors with the npm. Npm was trying to access internet and it wouldn't let it access the internet, so I gave it the full access for a while. It downloaded the packages and then I changed the permission again, and then it worked fine. Now you can see with this message that I was visibly impressed. The state separation looked good, and everything like the Falcon 9 rocket, state separation. But again, something was off, which was the view of the overall application. I wanted it to be zoomed out, and then the rockets fly up. And when I said that, it just zoomed it out way too much, and rockets were looking like matchsticks now, not like candles anymore. But again, uh, I wasn't able to get it perfectly in the first few tries, but it was not as bad as I was expecting. I mean, I could totally see that it can actually work. I was giving it very detailed prompts, and the reason you can see like such huge prompts is because they were just voice prompts. I was just talking to it, like this is what I feel, this is what I'm looking for. I wasn't typing, I was just hitting the mic button and just speaking, and it was just making the changes in the code. That was impressive. So at this stage, it implemented the rockets perfectly. The state separation was working. The sizing was correct as well. So I implemented a few more features. The reset button. We fixed the HUD, the heads-up display that was showing the uh, T minus 500, 100, 200 for the different stages of the rocket. So Peter Steinberg said something very interesting in that podcast that stick with me. He was like, people don't use these AI coding agents in the right way. We expect way too much from these AI coding agents. We expect they will solve all our problems. We won't even have to be very detailed with them. We have to be mindful that all of these agents have some context. So right now I'm just quoting him. All of these agents have some context, so we have to care about their context as well. We have to make sure that we reference the files if we need to. We have to assist them in solving the problem. I was trying to do that myself, like sometimes it went off and the flame of the rocket wasn't perfectly implemented. It was going on the back of the rocket, and you could like the illusion was breaking. So I pointed it out clearly that I think this is what's happening. It's not anchored to the bottom of the rocket. So I think the actual implementation is wrong from the code. So think about it, look into it. It actually fixed that. So we have to find these agents perfectly and do the solution. Sometimes we have to guide them, handhold them. I mean, not as much. You have, if you're technical, you will be able to do it easily. If you're not technical, you will learn. You can see I was trying to suggest a few things about making the size of the rockets bigger. It worked. Sometimes it didn't. But again, it was not as bad not to make me impressed. So Peter Steinberg said something very interesting. He said, sometimes you need to tell your agent to take your time, because these agents, uh, for the reason they are trained that way, they try to solve your problem very quickly. So and in that they sometimes miss a few things. So if something is not getting fixed, you can tell your agent to take your time and look into it problem more deeply. Again, it might sound crazy, but this worked for me. I was not able to get the flame of the rocket properly aligned. Let me show you that chat. So over here, um, I said you have to relook at the approach because it's still not working. I feel like it's showing very little ignition in the zoomed in state. So maybe the scale is the issue. And I was like, take your time, no issues. You have to rethink how you implement this. So we gave it a few tries, and the flame of the rocket, the ignition, was not properly aligned at the base. Sometimes it was not visible. It tried like 2 to 3 times, didn't work out. So then I remembered this suggestion from Peter Steinberger, like let your agent take its time. So I was like, take your time, no issues. You have to rethink. And after this message, it fixed that like perfectly. I was like, yes, it's much better now. You got it right. I don't know how these models work, or no one knows how these dark language models work in depth, but these things are actually helping these models fix the problems efficiently. And finally, after some back and forth, some implementations, um, the final look of the application is just mind blowing. And it's live and it's open source. Not that it matters because you can also go to Codex and build it yourself, but for those who care, it's open source. And this is the final result. You can see the sky moving on the back, and the stars are moving somewhere. And if you hover over it, all of it is built with AI, with Codex. I did not even look at the code. I looked at the code just to look at it, but I did not make any changes manually. This worked perfectly fine. It took me like 3 to 4 hours. It would have taken less if I was more hands-on with Codex, but I mean, if I click on any rocket, it works. The flames are ignited, and then the rocket flies, and then the state separation. And I even asked Codex to make it mobile responsive. So most of it was working fine on mobile, but some experience had to be changed because on mobile we can't hover. So we had to implement the click. So you click on the rocket, it comes into the view, and then you click again, and then it flies. um, that also worked perfectly fine. So I'm very amazed. It's been some time. Mostly, RipeSeed takes a lot of my time. We are working with a lot of customers and shipping some very exciting enterprise products. Those that can't be done with Codex right now. But let's see. So after a long time, I got to experiment with Adapt tool, which was like a great experience. And I think I am kind of hooked now. I am more intrigued at experimenting with more tools like Open Code that I was exploring last night. It's like Codex, but has access to a lot more models, open source models as well. I want to see the difference of models. Right now, this one is using GPT 5.3 Codex. That model is working perfectly well. But what about some open source models? Do they also work as well as Codex or Claude Code? I'll see. I'll check and share my learnings as well. For now, I just wanted to share this whole experience, which was very fun, very interesting, and I am super hooked. Let's see how it goes.